Hey everyone, and welcome back to day 2 of the Sydney Regionals. We are about to get into the top 8, which will be super exciting. We've got a Bello Betty versus GP matchup up ahead for you guys, but let's have a quick look at the top 16 breakdown. We had 5 Purple Luffys, 1 Buggy, 5 GPs, 3 Bello Betties, which is kind of surprising. The 1 Black Purple and the 1 Teach. Was this kind of as expected, Kevin?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's, 11, so I was one off. I said there was going to be 12 Purple Luffy base decks. There was 11, I was one off. And another Bello Betty snuck in there somehow. But this is kind of what you expect. The Teach, I think, is the most surprising thing. Everyone thought that deck was kind of gone from the game, so it's really cool to see that deck here.
Yeah, for sure. Let's have a quick look at the players' deck lists that we're about to see. We have Nice's deck list up here, who was on stream yesterday. A very consistent Bello Betty list with cards like that 2-cost Zeus being able to remove your opponent's Sanji Pudding, which could come up in this matchup, which is really cool to see, as well as just a bunch of Revolutionary Army cards and the stage to be super consistent. And moving on to Jaden's list.
Yep.
All good. So Jaden is playing green Purple Luffy, which we did see on stream last round. But Kevin, why don't you talk us through
Yes,
this
definitely.
list?
This is pretty much like the most standard list you can see. There is slightly variations though. He's still running that Rono Azora, the 4-drop 3, the 4-drop green version, so allowing you to swing into your opponent's active cards once per turn, again to rest something on play, but essentially the core is still the same as what we've seen across. I guess the Gamma Knife and Electric Luna are like the core tech cards that people are now including.
Yeah, for sure. And the crazy thing, as I mentioned on stream last round, more than half of these GP decks are dead. This has 30 dead cards in it.
Yes.
But
Yes.
You do have cards like Gun Gatlin, so I guess 28 dead cards in the deck, but you're able to cycle through with Giants, with Gatlings, which can counter as, I guess, counter. So let's get
100%.
right into the table and watch these players set up. It looks like these players are ready to go. We have Nice on the right and Jaden on the left. Nice is the higher seed, so he will be able to choose whether to go first or second. And honestly, I have no clue what you want in this matchup. Probably second, because you want to play that 4-cost as Bello Betty, or you want to play the 4-cost Zorojiro as GP, so it's probably better going second. Both these players are just having a quick laugh before the game. Very keen to get started. We'll see how this one goes. What's your initial prediction?
I definitely think that if you're Bello Betty, I think you do choose second still. You choose second still, yeah, but you still want that explosive curve straight into it. I think you're kind of in the driving seat of this matchup of you want to be doing the aggressive things. You don't really have the freedom as you do against blue purple, where they can't do anything. They kind of have to just hope and pray they survive to there. Green purple definitely has the ability to defend itself earlier. Becoming that 6k does help, especially early on. But you will see potentially Nice will maybe take turns off from going, okay, I'm not going to turn everything sideways every turn, because there are some turns where he can just freely kind of swing back and clear my board. Maybe I will take a couple turns to develop board, then go swing 6 times instead for these big numbers to push through.
For sure, and it'll be quite interesting how Nice plays it, because Jaden does not run that Electric Luna that we saw in heaps in EB02, but instead runs Radio Knife. So Jaden's able to proactively remove some of Nice's cards with Radio Knife. However, he's unable to stun a very wide board if it comes out. So Nice doesn't have to worry too much about having everything in rest, but he does have to worry about some of his early cards just getting removed as soon as they're played.
Yeah, 100%. So do you see Jaden going first, finding that Nami Searcher, as we didn't see in the last round. So finding a 1-drop play is always huge. Just being able to start the cycle, start getting cards on board, especially in this match. Just even this 2k Nami can effectively clear one of these Bello Betty cards that's come down, like that Searcher, like these 4k cards. You can pretty easily just swing 2k back into it. We do see the field come down from Nice here. Essentially, it's like the Blackbeard card. You play it out, you rest it, you discard a card, and then you get to search for another Revolutionary Armor card.
For sure, one of the really cool things that Bello Betty can do, and it's the reason it's so good against these purple Luffy decks, is that Karasu that Nice just searched off the top of his deck. It is able to make the leaders, which are now 6k, back down to the base power of 5, which is super strong. If you have 2, it goes down to 4, but Nice basically going, you know how you think you're a cool deck for going 6k? No, you're back to 5. You're like the rest of us, which is a very strong effect, of course. But Jaden getting the Searcher is not just important for consistency. It's also really important to be able to control Nice's board of 1-drops. So if Nice wants to swing with that Bello Betty going into next turn or into a future turn, Jaden has the ability just to swing that 2k back into it to get a easy removal off.
Yeah, 100%. So we do see the double Karasu search style. We see the Zeus and Bello Betty's hand, just allowing more of these tempo removal plays going, okay, my game plan is still to smack you, but at the same time, maybe I can remove one or two key pieces along the way. So we do see the extra card searcher coming down from Jaden here, just looking to find either more counter or fixing up what is in his hand. So finding that Sanji Pudding. Going 2 is always better than 1. If I generally Bello Betty's probably not going to remove it, especially if it stays inactive and I have the field out. It's very, very hard for Bello Betty to do anything about that. So Jaden not having any other searches on this turn is very rough. But we do see this Starve strat coming out. So Bello Betty is a deck which is yellow, so it has good triggers. You do not want to swing into Bello Betty early. If they hit these triggers early, you're essentially helping them build a board. So a lot of these decks will just go, okay, it kind of sucks to not swing, but I'd rather get you down to no board, 1 or 2 cards in hand, and then start swinging into you. If you hit triggers at that point, it's less threatening than if you were to hit them now.
For sure. We see the Koala come off the search, and Nice coming down, playing the Karasu, minusing the leader, so it is a 4k leader. We don't see the Ivankov like we saw Nice play yesterday on stream, which is able to essentially cheat out another body. Maybe Nice obviously doesn't have it in hand. He could have had it on some of those searches. We didn't see all the cards off the searches, so there's a chance he thought he didn't want the discard from the 1 card in hand to get the extra body, and Karasu was just fine to slam down this turn.
Yep, so we do see Jaden playing out the Sanji Pudding on curve. We'll use the leader effect -2, getting those 3 active, just then allowing him to play another, most likely another body. I can see this Nico Robin coming down, potentially even the Sanji blocker if he thinks he wants the 6k. So no, there's just the Nico Robin coming down, which is a blocker. It has the Don minus effect max.
It does. So Dot -1, it is able to look at the top 3 for a Straw Hat card. So it is essentially just another searcher. So it's one of the stronger cards in as a blocker, right? Just blockers that replace themselves are really strong.
Yes.
It's basically just like a negator. That's kind of crazy. Just say no to the attack, right? We see another Karasu coming down. Jaden just going, all right, let me move that dice off that I just put on there. Nice being super happy to just slowly improve his board, not wanting to do discards, not wanting to use that Koala we saw him have last turn to play out another body because he thinks that his life is too valuable. He wants to stay on high life, but the main important thing, and what I said before this match, is that other card that Nice is looking at in his hand that he wants to play, waiting for the end of his turn to play it, which is this 2-cost Zeus, being able to KO that Sanji Pudding because Jaden was not able to protect it. Jaden, as soon as Nice tapped his 2 Don, knew exactly what was coming. It was like, oh man, he was eyeing off that stage earlier. He has another, looks like 2 Sanji Puddings in hand, so maybe at this point he's regretting a little bit not taking that stage to protect it, but also it's hard to say, right? Like, if you don't draw that Sanji Pudding and you don't get another one later on, you just don't have the amount of firepower you need. See the Searcher come down, searching for that Inazuma, and probably a pass come down. Nice thinking whether or not to swing with the Karasu, whether to discard off of leader to also get that Bello Betty swing off. He has a lot of choices still to make, even though he has no Don left, which is kind of crazy for Bello Betty. He's just separating his non-Revolutionary Army card with his Revolutionary Army cards, thinking whether or not to do that leader effect. He'll buff up the Bello Betty and the Karasu. Swing Karasu first, because Jaden is on 2 life. That's now a 4K leader. This is an 8K into 4, which is kind of crazy. That's not being defended.
That's
we
huge.
could see the block come down, which means Jaden probably won't get the minus off because he does not want to go back to start on 5 Don next turn. That's way too slow in this matchup. So he probably has to consider just going for the block. No, he's happy to take the life. He's like, you know what? I can survive. He's now going for the cheeky 5 into the 4, getting a 2K out of Jaden's hand. Oh, it wasn't. It was a 3K leader. That is my bad. Need that extra 1K off it.
Yep, so we do see the Nabi just coming straight back into that Bello Betty, just going, yep, that's a free trade for me. If you defend this, your hand is going to just plummet. So I think any of these free attacks, you definitely do just... You understand, when you're Bello Betty, you swing these small cards, it's one-time use. You've got to replace yourself, it's gotten to swing once. It's already done more than a cantrip has done in any other deck, so we're fine to let it die. It's definitely too greedy to try and save those things. Double crush, so if you could keep both these crushes on the board, minusing 2K power from the leader for the turn next turn will be huge, just meaning that these like big attacks coming through, you're essentially saying that the swinging 8 into 5 and then 8 into 4, it just asks for so many cards out of hand, and you kind of stunt Jaden's turn, because if he has to keep this Don open to you for Gum Gum Giant, he's also just then like playing the game at a disadvantage the whole time, just going, okay, I don't think he hasn't hit anything above 6 Don yet.
For sure.
So just thinking now, okay, do I play this down this Zoro? Is the extra poke coming through better? Or do I actually just lose if I do not keep any of this Don up? And is it worth even trying to get the cards out of his hand at this point? So just sitting here, thinking about his options. He also has the other Zoroark Searcher. Could just then place the Don. Could also play that 6-cost Sanji for 3, since he is 2 Don underneath at this point. It is interesting to see how many options this deck has with such limited cards, with such limited Don available to him.
For sure, we see the 2K come out, and now we see the Zoro come down, being able to rest a different Karasu as well as get another swing. This Zoro is a really cool card, which we haven't actually seen come up yet over the weekend. It came out in EBO2 and has a super cool effect. If your opponent has 2 or more characters, this character can attack on the turn which was played, and on play, if your leader has Straw Hat type, rest up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or less characters. So being able to get that extra swing into the Karasu for the extra 1K out of hand.
Yep, just discussing something with the judge right now.
In that case, you will just get a warning. Okay. And then that discarded card is shown to both players. Yeah. And then you can add the Nico Robin back. Yeah. Sorry about that. No.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of confusion last turn. He thought he was a 3K leader when it was actually 4K base, just because of the just because of the buff, and then the minus, and then the double minus, because generally, like, if you put dust on something, it indicates a plus, but there's no real minus dice. So it can get a little bit confusing there. So I think it's just, the fix was just, okay, well, because it's kind of public information, what it was, we can just go, okay, you can just add that back to your hand. Because it was a kind of like an open error, that's fine. We can just run it back, and we'll just keep on going from there. Nothing gained, and we're all good to go from there.
For sure, Nis discarding a dead card in hand, wanting those counter pieces, grabbing that Kuma, which is really good for Nis in this position, because that Robin blocker does not have much power, and we see Nis straight away shotgun that Kuma. The Kuma on play KOs one of your opponent's characters with 2,000 power or less. There aren't many cards with 2,000 power or less in the game, but that Robin blocker is one of them. And the other cards that Kuma kind of targets are other 1-cost searches. So cards like that 1-cost Bello Betty can't be swung back into. So it doesn't have much utility, but it has a lot when it comes to the Bello Betty leader. It's also Revo Army, so you can make it a 5K off the leader effect.
Yeah, 100%. So we do see the on-KO effect coming down, just doing the -1, searching through the top 3 for Shrocker. It does find that zero-cost event, just making any of these cards in hand into effectively a 1k counter. If you consider the zero-cost a 2k counter by default, is very useful, especially like you said before, over half your deck is no counter cards. Sometimes you just need to be able to turn any card into counter, and that's what the zero-cost does for you.
Yeah, for sure. If I'm Jaden, I'm a little bit scared at the moment. I have no blockers. I have no Don for Giants. I have 1 life, and I'm staring down 2 Karasu's. So the first Karasu swing, my leader will be a 5k. The second, my leader is going to be a 4k. We see the discard off of leader, give the 2 Karasus plus 3k power each. We get a 9k swing into the Luffy -1. We move that dice 9 and 5. That's 3 cards out of Jaden's hand if he wants to protect it. If he doesn't, though, that's like 5 extra Don on the second Karasu, which will make it a 13k swing into 4, which that's not something that we want to see for Jaden. We get the counter out there. We see another 8k swing come down. It is now a 4k leader, using that dice to indicate the minus. This is, once again, 3 cards out of Jaden's hand if he wants to protect it. Nice still has the ability to split between that Zeus as well as his leader, with the potential to do something like a 6-6 split.
So yeah, just letting him take it back to his hand, and then yeah, he's scooping anyway. I think at that point he was kind of like 2 cards in hand. You can almost just, as niches, do the math of go, okay, well I can just swing 6-6, and unless you have perfect counter, unless you got 2 2Ks out, like another 2K or 2 1s out of there, it's a very rough position to be in. So yeah, Jaden not having enough counter to get out of the attack, having to go 0 life, it's just a very unfortunate position to be in there.
For sure, but that kind of is what happens in aggro matches when you get to choose whether you want to go first or second. So Jaden now with the chance to bring it back. We've seen twice Bello Betty on stream, and twice Bello Betty's been able to go second and shown the power of just playing a 4-drop after 4-drop. But now when Jaden is able to choose that second and take it away from Nice, he's not able to play a 4-drop down until his 5 Don turn, which is a lot later in the game, which means Jaden can have a lot less pressure on him, being able to maybe establish a couple more Sanji puddings and actually apply the pressure back into the Bello Betty. Also, if Jaden's able to dig full cards such as a Radio Knife to kill the Karasu as soon as it gets played, it won't be able to get such a strong effect off throughout the course of the game, reducing that leader from 6 to 5, then from 5 to 4. Like, I don't know how you survive as a 4K leader. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very rough position to be in, because essentially, imagine you're a 5k leader, you go down to 3. That is, every swing is now 2 cards out of hand. Essentially, the ability to minus something for the turn effectively asks for every number of swings, you have to give you 1 more card out of hand. And at the end of the day, it does just come down to, if your opponent only has 2 cards in hand and they have 1 life, if you can swing 4 times, you just win the game. It doesn't matter if you swing for 1 million, as long as you swing the same amount of health as they have, you just win the game. So being able to ask for that card, extra counter every time, definitely adds up.
Yeah, for sure. Nice in a really good position, winning game 1 in 15 minutes. It just means this match is most definitely going to go towards a game 3 if Nice is not able to close out here in game 2. So Nice, if this game doesn't go the way he wants, is able to choose to go second again, which is the advantage of being the higher seed in these top cut games. So we see Nice on 1 Don. Looks like these guys are just getting ready to start up. Nice potentially having some 1 cost in his deck he could potentially play, whether that's a Raise Max, which is the 1 cost that you can bottom deck to -3 to something, whether that is the Bello Betty Searcher or whether that is the stage. There is a lot of different cards at Nice's disposal for his turn 1. So even though he doesn't get the curve he wants, he still has a lot of options.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Bello Betty doesn't really mind going for a second. Obviously, I think the biggest thing going second is you have a slightly nicer curve and you get to draw that extra card. It is actually huge. Going second, you get to draw for turn at the start of the game. And when you're discarding a card from your leader effect, that 1 extra card means 1 extra turn of swinging for larger numbers. It actually it adds up over time, is very relevant. So we'll have to see how how Nice can manage his hand size and potentially whether he isn't able to go as aggressive as he normally likes to go, where it's like turn 2, turn 3, he's just discarding with leader and going down to these 2-card hands. Is it worth still doing that, going down to this 1-card hand and putting the pressure on still?
For sure. Nice grabbing that 6-cost koala, which we didn't see come down last game, but maybe will come down on the 7-don turn this game. Jaden straight away playing that merry-go, going, you know what? My Sanji pudding is going to be protected this time around. No more zoos to kill my best body. I'll get a 5k swing into the leader here. Potentially a 1k coming out. No, Jaden willing to take it. Looks like he has a trigger. Which is the one that searches for Straw Hat or searches for Heart Pirate or Kid Pirate. So a lot of different options, able to search cards such as Radio Knife, but was unable to see it there. We see one of the 3-cost Karasus come down, which is a blocker from Nice.
Yes, so one of the nice trigger cards in the deck just allows you to play it from life. Generally, it's not really blocking though. It's definitely swinging the first chance it gets. It gets buffed up to a 7k. Seven's a nice number to swing with. You're generally never not swinging with these cards.
For sure, yeah, 7 is the perfect number. Normally not against decks like GP, which come to 6k leaders, but that is where Karasu comes and fixes the problem, being able to bring it back down to a 5k leader. We do see some fun interactions in Nice's hands, such as going into Ivankov plus Karasu, being able to reduce the leader by a 1k from as early as next turn, as well as developing 2 bodies is kind of scary.
Yeah, I definitely think next turn is like the first decision point for Nice. So do I use leader effect now? Is it worth swinging 3 times into a potential 4k leader now because no leader effect was used? If I am able to go Ivankov into Karasu, or just straight away playing this Karasu and then swinging for some slightly larger numbers, everything else. So it'd be interesting to see whether he starts putting on the pressure. Jaden is on 3 life, taking that first hit. And so if he can get him down to 1 this turn, I think that's a huge thing for Nice. There's only 2 bodies on the other side. Generally, he's not going to play the Rush Luffy just yet. He's definitely going to want to play out the 5-cost Sanji pudding first, and then potentially go into another blocker. So but maybe as Nishi, like, okay, this is the turn where I can get a little bit greedy, start swinging, defend my 4k Karasu if I want to, and then from there I can start going even wider next turn.
Yeah, playing down the Bella Betty, being able to have an extra body on board. So if Nice does decide to turn all his cards sideways this turn, next turn he'll still have 3 bodies with the Ivankov, the Karasu, and the Bello Betty, which must be scary for Jaden to see.
Interesting. So just swinging 5 here first before potentially going into Ivankov Karasu. Maybe looking at doing Ivankov into a slightly bigger body and saving that Karasu for more of like a surprise factor in a way where you go, okay, I'm going to wait until I have a full board. I'm not going to swing this turn. I'm just using this just to get the free effect. I want 5 characters out that are swinging before I start swinging. And so you can potentially see the Lindbergh come down instead, which does also allow you to KO something on swing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, you are correct there, Kevin. When attacking, this card has 7,000 power or more, K up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. Now, that 3,000 power might seem quite low, but when you're able to combo that with cards such as Race Max or even the Karasu in Nice's hand, because that can also target characters,
yes, you
are able to kill slightly bigger bodies. 5-cost Sanji pudding comes down. We see the Don -2, get 2 Don, restand 2 Don from leader, get Don back in active, and plus 1k. Without a Karasu on board, this is a very important 1k for Jaden. And now he's just thinking what to do with his board state, where to swing, whether he's eyeing off that 4-cost Zoro instead of the Zorojuro, wanting to get an extra swing, an extra card out of Nice's hand, which honestly I don't mind too much. Nice's hand does look decently small, but you know, when you're just guarding 1 card out of hand, doesn't matter for Belly Betty if they have 0 cards at the end of the turn, they can still do their crazy amount of offensive potential.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jay go through the math here of like, okay, if I remove 3 characters this turn, is that enough? And he has a Karasu. Can I survive the next turn if it's swinging with leader plus these 2 other characters? Is that good enough? There's a world where we can see he plays down the 4-cost Green Zoro. goes, okay, I'm going to rest the one-cost Belabetti and go, I'd rather not risk you giving me counter for this 5 into a 5. I'm going to rest the 2 and have more, like, it's not guaranteed, but more of a very likely removal. Because these one-costs are threats, it's almost going to say, okay, I know I'm going to be attacked with an 8-8 anyway. It's not worth the risk of trying to get one card out of your hand. I'm just going to take the small attack out because it is still a card out of my hand, and it gives me more board presence.
Yeah, for sure. But the scary thing for Jaden is if you look at his hand, a lot of the cards are dead, right? Gum Gum Giant obviously is a counter card, but if you have no non-available, you can't use it, and it is quite taxing in the Don -2. So he's very much thinking whether or not it's worthwhile to play that or play the Zoro Juro 4-cost, which searches for something. He goes with the green Zoro, which is one of his only counter cards in hand. I think he only has one other, being the 2K Usohachi. Luckily for Jaden, Nice deciding not to defend heavily on board this turn. If Nice decides to attack board this turn, it is a very good position for Jaden to be in because he's basically bluffed his way through a turn of no counter, right?
Yep.
Even if most of the board dies, what's important is the Sanji Pudding's alive. He has the ability to go Luffy Taro into Sanji Pudding next turn, as well as leave Dawn open for Gum Gum Giant after leader effect. We finally see this 6-cost Koala come down, which is one of the more aggressive cards in the deck, just being able to take a life, basically getting you a card back in hand. Yes, it might let you die a little bit sooner, but getting a 6k blocker is nothing to scoff at, as well as being able to free play something. In this case, it's the Karasu, choosing what to minus off it. I believe he minused the leader. I'm not 100%
No, he minused the Sanji Pudding. His plan is to play Raise Max this turn, minus another 3, and then be able to remove it with that Lindbergh. So going for more of like I think Jaden's bluff here did work. He's like, he's not going to go for game when I have 7 cards in hand. He definitely could. These could have won this turn. If you show each other his hand, he just goes, I win the game. Don't worry about it. But obviously, you're not going to go 7 cards in hand. You go, okay, I'm going to take the middle route. I'm going to clean up board a little bit. I'm going to remove a lot of your threats. And then Jaden's kind of having to give these cards. And then Nice is going, okay, I now have a full board. If you only have 1 attack for the turn, you're only going up to, I think it's 7 Don. Are you really going to play Rush Luffy again? Is that really what your best out? So I think Jaden doing the correct thing, just sitting and thinking, going, do I want to save it? I don't know. Knowing full well he's letting this die just because his hand is so bad. And then Nice not choosing to swing with the Belabetti, very interesting, saying, I don't want to give you a free removal. Yes, I could get a card over your hand. That's less important than me being able to swing with this Belabetti for, say, 8 next turn by putting more underneath it because I have this Karasu still.
Yeah, for sure. Nice potentially getting a little bit of information from Jaden going, all right, he didn't protect the Zoro. He only would have needed to give me 2 or 1Ks out of hand to protect it. So he must not have very many counter cards in his hand left. We do see leader effect, untapping 2 Don, getting 1 back in active, as well as just giving that leader plus 1k. The Karasu on board is kind of scary, but we do see the Radio Knife draw off of the Sanji Pudding, which is one of the cards that Jaden may consider to play this turn.
Yeah, mistakenly I called it Electric Luna. I just saw an extra card and I was like, the only card they run is Electric Luna. What is Radio Knife? So Radio Knife, main, rest up to your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less, then KO up to one of your opponent's rest cards with a 5 or less. Essentially, you can't KO the 6 that you've rested, but you can KO anything else on the board. So we will see, the Karasu getting rested and removed is just asking for too many cards. Essentially, it's asking for 4 more 1k counters over his Jaden's hand, which currently has 1k counter or 2k counter available. 1 2k counter available. Everything on its else is dead with that one Gum Gum Giant. Jaden is just hoping to draw into those 0-cost events right now to get him through this turn.
For sure, that Gum Gum Giant will probably come down at some point during the turn, even though he goes back down to 4 Dons, starting with 6. The leader untapping 2 plus the 1 Sanji Pudding, getting a Don back pretty much means he gets to sit on 9 Don next turn, which is more than enough to play everything he wants from his hand during that next turn. We see a early 8k swing come down. Jaden having to think whether to use his Gum Gum on this swing or whether to take it, because he does not have enough counter outside of that Gum Gum to protect it, as well as Nice still having his leader effect available. We could see an 8 come down, we could see a 9 come down with the Koala, as well as a 5 base from the Bella Betty, as well as the other 6 Don that we've got remaining. There's still a lot of pressure coming from Nice this turn if he wants to go all out. If he wants to play a couple of bodies, that is obviously an option. However, only having 2 cards in hand means he will go with 0 if he decides to play a body. But it looks like he's just going for the leader effect, and he'll go swing 8 probably first, maybe some 9s. Very interesting decisions to come from Nice, and every other card he turns sideways just means it's another card that could be swung back into.
Yeah, definitely. So I can see the potentially it's probably 8, 9. So it's probably 9, 9, 10 coming through. So probably swing Limburg, then Koala, then the Bella Belly. Potentially should have swung the Bella Belly first. There's open deck list. I'm not sure if there are any triggers that can affect this board state. I'm not sure what the Radio Knife trigger is. Potentially being punished by that, but at this point, yeah, you just start going in with the smallest number to the biggest number and going, okay, I'm never losing the turn after. Let me at least dwindle his hand size down to nothing.
I mean, you say he's never losing. He could lose to a 6 cost or Rush Luffy if he taps that Koala blocker. That is 4 swings. Nice has 1 card left in hand. Something looking like a 6, 7, 8, 8, I think is, or maybe it's just 6, yes, 6, 7, 8, 8 is possible from Jaden with the Rush Luffy next turn. So depending on what that 1 card in Nice's hand is, it might be a little bit scary. So he might be considering whether he has to leave that Koala inactive. We see 4 Don might be attached to that Bella Betty. We could see a 9k swing come down, which it looks like it is. Very high chance we just see 2 2ks come down from Jaden in that double Uso Hachi, and looking to just control board again next turn and stabilize off that. We do see the 2 2ks come down. Nice deciding whether or not to go for this last swing. He's thinking, can he survive the lethal?
Yeah, just considering here. Potentially you could just not bother swinging and just going, okay, I'll just leave this blocker up. 1 life is still in kill range for him next turn, but it is like, if you leave him 1 life and he is possible to remove board plus have a blocker, you no longer have lethal on board. So we do see all the swings coming through. Nice going down to 1 card in hand, 3 life. You were correct though. I think there is a chance that Jaden just goes, well, I'm definitely not living another turn. My hand does not allow that. I am starting to draw into my counter though. Maybe if the rest of my draws are just counter, I can live another turn. But I don't think we see that Rush Luffy. We do see a couple Nami searches. Could dig down for that Rush Luffy. But he is on 6 Don. So if he plays 1, he would need to use 3 more Don before it's even worth using the leader effect. And effectively it means he can't really play the Rush. He can't play the Rush Luffy for its full effect anymore.
Most definitely, it is quite possible that he goes for board this turn, being able to swing 6 into the Limburg, see what happens, see if a 2k gets given up, swing 7 with Sanji putting in to something else. If that card in Nice's hand is not a 2k, we could see a full board clear besides that Bella Betty, and then maybe a Nico Robin come down afterwards. If Jaden wants to play something like that, Sanji putting in his hand to redevelop board going further into the game.
Yeah, I definitely think that Jaden needs to either remove everything and play a blocker, or have a blocker and at least keep 2 things and remove at least 2 things.
He's going for the Nami, trying to dig for something, potentially that 4-cost Rush Zoro. Well, not Rush Zoro, but the 4-cost Zoro that can attack a body, looking to get that extra swing into Nice's board to be able to get a full clear off, and then maybe look at playing something along the lines of the Nico Robin later in the turn, but still 5 Don active, so we could still see the Sanji putting. No, we are seeing another Nami come down. There is something he is digging for at this moment. We do see the Zoro there, but no, we're looking at more 2Ks. We're just looking for counter right now. Potentially eyeing off the Gamma Knife or the Robin, going for the double blocker over the 2K line, but it is still quite rough with not many cards in hand and no life if that board lives on Nice's side. And the crazy thing is, even if all this board dies, Nice is still at 3 life. Like, Jaden still has to somehow get a win at the end of the day. And all these triggers couldn't come down from Nice if Jaden isn't able to get a kill over one turn. Or a Karasu blocker could come down off the trigger and just completely stop Jaden's lethal potential, which is a little bit rough. We see the Robin blocker come down. Looking at leader effect now, Don -2, get 2 Don back inactive. That leader gets the +1. Looking, and we'll see what we do for the rest of the turn. Attaching a Don, swinging 7 into Limburg. Jaden not risking to gamble anything, going, I am removing your entire board this turn, Nice. You've got nothing besides that little Bella Betty. If you want to split down the middle, I'll show you my Gum Gum Giant in my hand, and I will defend whatever split you give me. So you kind of have to see a rush card to go for game next turn, which there are a couple in the Revolutionary Army. You have Dragon, you have Inazuma. I can't remember if Nice is running Dragon, but he definitely has Inazuma in his deck.
Yeah, correct. From memory, I don't think he does, but yeah, definitely Inazuma. If he sees that card, he has a good shot of pushing through some numbers. It's a very rough position. So currently on 10 Don, the split would be 10-10 if he wanted to go for it. But like, you're versing a purple deck with a Don open. He's kind of kept a lot of cards in his hand this whole game, so you can kind of presume some of them are dead. If he has a dead card in hand, there's a good chance it's a giant. And Nice also knows he searched for that zero cost event earlier, so he knows at least he has 3k counter. All he needs is a 2 and a 1 at minimum, or another Gum Gum Giant, and he's getting out of that swing. And then I've got no board, down to 1 card in hand, and very likely losing the turn after that, just based off like, these Namis are actually, these 1-cost Nami searchers are actually lethal now. It's crazy that it's come down to this, but this is what this matchup is. It's Bella Betty burns their hand, just trying to push, and if you can just hold on, maybe even getting out some searches yourself, getting these small bodies on that you just want to keep on the board, then you just go, okay, 5-5-5-5-5, and you just win the game because they have not enough cards.
Definitely, for sure. And Jaden's actually able to get out of a 10k swing with the zero cost plus a 2k, because we've got that buff 1k from the leader, so that makes it a lot easier to defend some of these swings. Nice doing some Don counting, trying to figure out how much cards out of Jaden's hand he can do. What's the chances he has to go for lethal? What are the chances he dies on the crackback? Or what are the chances that if Jaden just swings into the Bella Betty with a Nami and plays down another Robin, does Nice actually win the following turn,
Yep.
right? So a lot of things to think about on Nice's side of things. He has a lot of cards he could have top decked. We haven't seen what his top deck was, which helps him go for lethal here. A Bartholomew Kuma being able to KO the Robin is one of those options, and then you just kind of dump on your leader swing, or something like this. Karasu being able to minus 1k on to the leader. So it's a 5k leader, which is essentially being able to play that Karasu for 2 Don, because each of these Bella Betty swings are now only going to be 8ks. However, with that being said, is that good math? Yeah, that's good math, 8ks.
That's good math. Yeah,
but with that being said, because you're minus 1 on the leader, it's essentially like they were 9ks before. So only costing 2 Don. Looks like we might just go for the one big swing into basically into that Robin blocker, right? That's kind of what we're doing. We're like, let me swing big into Robin and see if you use your Don minus effect, so you have 1 less Don to play with. Jaden kind of going, is this something I actually have to use the Robin blocker for? Because I don't have much defense going into next turn. He's holding 1 up. Can I go for lethal going into next turn? Should I block and not use my effect? Should I block and use my effect to look for another blocker? A lot of things to go through Jaden's mind.
I think Jaden's also considering whether he just uses the Gum Gum Giant here and just goes, okay, I want to cycle some cards. I'm probably going to draw into another one eventually. I want to use this now. If I keep this blocker, it actually is just always live. Sure, he can then find the KO effect, but then I can choose, okay, I can at least cycle a card at that point, and that's always also Don investment into the attack he's not using. So effectively, by removing the blocker, you're still removing some of the threat of the attack. So you do see the Gum Gum Giant come down here, just removing a dead card in the form of the Sanji Pudding, just going, okay, I just need to see new cards. I do think he found the card he's been looking for, which is in this Luffy. I think he's gone, okay, I could probably win next turn now.
Sure, it's still hard to win though because he's only starting the turn on 5 Don, so he can't even play that
true, he can't.
Rush Luffy if he wanted to, which is, I guess, the downside of going for that Gum Gum
Yes.
Giant. But I believe he has another one in hand, so he has a very simple line. If he wants of playing a Sanji Pudding, drawing a card, using leader effect, staying on that 5 Don, swinging maybe once with a leader and just praying it's not trigger, or just leaving everything inactive going, all right, next turn's the turn.
Next
turn's the turn. And then because he will at least be on 6 Don to... No, he could theoretically go back down to 5 Don. Nice being able to keep forcing the Gum Giants out of Jaden's hand means that Rush Luffy might never get played, which is a little bit scary to think about. However, it's definitely a lot of things for these players to consider and much too much for me to think of all the possible options, which is why those guys are there and I am with you on this commentary booth.
Yes. Five Don. It's very interesting, this matchup. Jaden has played with pretty much no Don this whole game, and Nice has played with pretty much no hand this whole game. So it's like, what is better in One Piece, Don or hand? And right now, it's very close, actually. I don't know who's going to win this, Max. Who do you think's going to win?
I think it's tough. I think it depends what cards Jaden draws. He's definitely playing some amount of bodies that replace himself. Looks like he goes for the Zorojiro. He doesn't want a blind draw off of the Sanji and Pudding. He wants to search for the Gum Giant. They're being able to use it for defense. That's basically the one card he was looking for. We're paying 1 to throw down another Nami. Let's look at the top 5 for something.
I think just searching through for more 2Ks potentially. Oh, that zero cost event is also not a bad pickup there. Just going, okay, my hand is now all counter. If I can survive this turn, and then with this board state, I should definitely be able to win with this Luffy that I can now play because I have enough Don.
For sure. Do you ever take the gamble here and swing 6K with leader into life? Like,
Never.
what are the odds on...
Never.
What are the odds on the trigger versus the odds on survival? I guess Jaden is able to sit there and do the math quickly. Is his board state at the moment enough for him to go for lethal next turn? Because really, he only has 3 bodies that are bigger than Nice's leader, so everything else has to come from Don attachment. And if he starts the turn with something like 5 Don once again, well, I think actually he goes at -1, so he'll be starting at 4 Don minimum, potentially 2 Don after the Gum Giant. He might need to at least get a leader swing off this turn to be able to go for game the following turn.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll probably see the leader effect come through now.
So
Going back down up to 4 again. So yeah, even potentially down to 3 at the start turn with the Nico Robin, and then down to 2 potentially. Just the drawbacks of these cards actually coming through. It's like, well, you don't have the time to do the setup that Green Purple normally likes to do. All of these, the costs of the cards actually become real, and you have to play the game with these very low resources.
For sure. Jaden deciding, I don't want to take the gamble to swing this turn. I probably would have taken the gamble. My kind of mindset is it has to...
I would never take the gamble, though.
It has to both be a trigger, and all of the trigger cards need you to discard a card. So it needs to be a trigger plus a discard, as well as the top card of the deck needs to be a revolutionary army. Otherwise, you can't discard a fleer. So cards like Zeus coming off the top deck will mean that Nice wouldn't be able to use leader effect. However, now I'm actually thinking about it. I don't think there's many cards in the deck at all besides those Zeuses, because everything also has trigger, which you can also discard. So maybe it's good I'm not on that table.
Yeah,
maybe because Jaden didn't swing.
Yeah, I think the risk is not worth it. Like, yes, you're not getting there, but I think you definitely need to wait for either Nice to swing, and then you can control board while poking into him. If we're playing this game of chicken, Jaden will eventually win the game of chicken, I think, where it's kind of like no one's doing anything, just because Nice does get these resources slower and can't really do much outside of just swing leader. But yeah, if Nice just goes every turn, okay, here's 15 leader pass, Jaden eventually does have to do something, because he only has so many blockers and so much counter in hand, and he really doesn't want to just give it away when he's not ready to go for game the next turn.
For sure, and Nice looking at, I think the main thing Nice is considering over is if I do a very big swing with my leader and he just blocks and doesn't Don minus, do I simply die to a 6-cost Luffy next turn? He's just thinking what to do with his 10 Don. Nice very much wants to at least get one Don minus effect off Jaden. So even if we see the block come down from Jaden, there's a good chance Nice ends up using a leader effect to buff the Karasu and the Belly Betty, turn both of those cards sideways just to force the Gum Gum Giant out of Jaden's hand so Nice doesn't die on the clapback. But I'm sure if we see the block come down here, we won't see the Don minus, but a very smart number, swinging for 11. That is in total 6k counter out of Jaden's hand, so either a Giant plus a 2k, which is a very tempting number, and I think that's what Nice is going for. He's going for something which is nice and easy and tempting for Jaden to get out of, so he forces the Gum Gum, which does come down. Nice is probably now sitting very pretty, going, I'm not dying next turn. For Don, he can't play his Rush Luffy, he can't do much else, so I can leave everything inactive and be fine. And he's left for Don open, so worst case, he can just play another blocker, another body.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think it was very smart from Jaden there to not block, though. You need to keep that blocker up. Otherwise, it's like, okay, well, now I'm just going in with Karasu. It doesn't matter. If you show it to me, you're going to get minus all your effects. And then it's like, okay, we're going to play again from there. I think that unless Jaden wanted him to do that, then I think blocking there is smart. But I think if you block, there's just a good chance that Nice just goes, okay, well, here's everything. Show me the counter to get out of it.
For sure, we could see some spicy lines come down from Jaden. Something like, all right, let's swing 5 with an army. Let's swing 5 with another army, or some stuff along those lines.
You can't even do that yet. You're only on 4 Don for the turn. Very rough position to be in.
That is very true. And with leader effect, you can only untap Don that are in your cost area. You cannot untap Don that are attached to your body. So if you're not really getting that much Don back from leader. You can obviously get it back from your Sanji and Pudding, but that's only 1 Don. So in terms of attaching Don going for lethal, Jaden only has 5 to work with, which isn't very much. He could do something cheeky to get that extra 1 by being able to play over one of these Namis if he has another 1-cost Nami, which it doesn't look like he does, but that would enable the Don to go back to the cost area. But Jaden in a little bit of a rough spot, probably has to swing, but also if it's a trigger, it's kind of just game over, and it's like, why didn't I swing last turn? So I have to go survive another turn, but he has 3 bodies on board, so I need another blocker. I've also used my last Gum Gum Giant, so a lot of things to mull over on Jaden's side.
Yeah, 100%. It is very much almost at the casino at this point. I do think that Jaden has to go for game this turn. Looking at his hand, it's kind of diminished the resources. I think definitely has at least 0, at least 1, like 1 or 2 0 costs left in his hand. So he has enough bit of counter, but this board from Nice is just, it's massive at this point. Like there's 3 huge attacks coming through. You have 1 blocker, 0 life. You're definitely not surviving. I think Jaden has to just go, okay, what is my math? Am I swinging 5 first? And just going, okay, is that counter? Are you countering? Does Nice even take... There's a good chance Nice will just take a 5. There is also a good chance he will counter out of it, depending on what's his hand, what he thinks he's outside, what the math looks like. So realistically, it's probably like 5, 5, 7, 7. I think that's probably the best number. The bad thing is there, all those attacks have to go through for you to win the game.
For sure. You could probably see something like 5 with the Nami, Don -2, being able to get that 1 Dog back with the Sanji you're putting, so you got 2 Don back inactive, and you get the +1k on leader, then be able to go 7, 7, 7. But that 5k has to go through, right?
Yes.
If that 5k doesn't go through, then you need to find a way to get another Nami attack off, which I just don't think is possible because you don't have enough Don come back. So Nice just needs to counter out of a 5k Nami swing to not die this turn. So Jaden thinking over his options.
Yeah, 100%. I always forget about the leader. The math just changes so much with this deck when you include the leader, because the +3 1k counter, plus getting that Don back from that Sanji Pudding. So yeah, 5, 7, 7, 7 is probably the correct line where you just go, please be enough. You kind of just... There's only limited things with you. You kind of just have to think through and go, okay, this is the correct line. If it doesn't work, as long as I've made the correct play, sometimes things just don't work out.
For sure, for sure. That's definitely very true, especially in a situation like this.
So just mulling over. Would you...
I'm gonna be honest, I've got no clue what I would do in this
Yeah.
spot. I'm just kind of sitting there and going, look, maybe I swing the 5 with the Nami and bluff the fact that I have another Nami in hand to play over the first one, then be able to get my 3 Dom back off leader plus Sanji and Pudding, and then going another 5, which is a blind card for Nice, 6, another blind card for Nice, and then another 6, hope that one goes through, and hope he can't get out of a 7k swing with the 3 cards that are in his life. But because it's a bluff, if Nice gets out of that first 5k swing, it's not doing much. You could also just see a 6k swing come down. You go 6 and then use leader effect. We get another 6, another, and then go 7-7, which is probably what I would do at the end of the day.
Yep.
But it's still not good. If that card in hand is a 2k from Nice, the game is over. If the top card of life is a 1k and Nice has another 1k, the game is still over. Going for the 6 first with the Zoro, honestly, this is smart, right? We're not attaching none, we're not committing, we're just asking for the numbers, and this is kind of just showing us what we're going to do. So we take the first 6, Nice looking at it, no trigger. Probably now have to attach everything to the Nami, go 6. At this point, it has all the commitment. Nice going, all right, can I get out of this? Takes another life, goes for 1, swings 7 with the Sanji Pudding. Nice looking at his cards going, well, his last swing 7, so if I can get out of this one, I win the game. So I'm probably just going to take this swing anyway. It looks like he can definitely get out. That's 2 2Ks in his hand and a Revenant Army. So he's just going to take this swing. We'll see a leader effect come in from Jaden. Don minus get 1 Don. Leader gets 1k and will swing 7 for game. And Nice is going to show those 2 2Ks, which have been in hand from the start. And Nice is moving on to our top 4 with Bello Betty getting a nice swift 2-0 victory over Jaden. Bello Betty, a very, very strong deck, being able to apply a lot of pressure. Congratulations to Nice on his victory, and congratulations to Jaden, still making top 8 out of 512 players. That is a phenomenal result.
Very impressive.
All right, let's bring it back to the desk as we talk about what is to come. All right, so that was a really good game, and Nice is one of our multiple-time regional winners here in OC. I believe he has 3 now. If he's able to clutch up and win his next 2 rounds, he'll get to 4, tying with Stefan being our only 2 4-time regional winners. So that is something that's definitely on Nice's mind. He wants to get there to the end and be able to tie up that win rate.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very high-level gameplay. There's a lot of good players in Australia. There's a small community of, like, the EM team. There's a reason that you see them everywhere. It's because they're topping all these events, winning all these events. There's a reason that they have all these accolades. And so it's awesome to see them be able to continue to put up these results. It kind of proved that, like, a lot of people think that, like, oh, One Piece kind of, like, is, like, too much of a luck-based game or a snowballing game. It's like, well, these people are proving that if you put the time in and put the effort in and learn the matchups, learn how to play your deck, you can consistently put in these results and get the things you want.
For sure. We do have our bracket looking here. We have 3 of our players decided for top 4. We have Zishuan, Nice, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Sisheng. Sorry for the butchering, but all these players have made it to top 4, so congratulations. Zishuan being able to knock out Hubert, who was our undefeated player up until this point. Very impressive result. So we're going to take a quick break before we start our top 4, and we'll catch you guys then.